Alright, so the 2010 British Grand Prix is underway. Um, the qualifying was pretty interesting today. Um, the bottom seven were obviously the three new teams, plus Jaime Alguersuari from Toro Rosso. And there is a larger gap between the end of the established teams and the new teams. 2 seconds this weekend, so pretty big gap. I'm betting that there'll be a bunch of lapping that goes on. Um, but anyways, Sebastian Vettel and Mark Webber locked out the front row again. I think 8 out of 9 races so far has been a Red Bull on pole, and this is the 5th time they've locked out the whole front row. So Red Bull is the team to beat. McLaren brought they brought a bunch of upgrades, and chief among them was sort of a new front wing, but also the blown diffuser. And it's hard to explain. It's basically a system whereby they channel the exhaust gas into kind of the rear of the car, and it helps with the aero. I don't know what it does with the aero, but it's supposed to, if Red Bull says their system gives them 2 to 3 tenths per lap. And McLaren had a problem that some of the other teams have had, which is that when you're directing all those hot exhaust gases, inevitably parts of your car overheat. So they were experiencing problems with overheating on certain components in the rear, so they took it off. Jensen struggled from the first part of qualifying onward. Never looked like he was really getting a good pace. He had to put in a good lap, his last lap in the first part of qualifying, Q3, just to get out of the bottom 7. So very, very, very nerve-wracking for him. He ended up qualifying 14th during Q2. So Jensen Button did not make it to, Q3. I don't know why I did that backwards. But anyways, qualified 14th. To give you sort of a comparison, those ahead of him were Nico Hulkenberg and Kamui Kobayashi. So a little bit of a rough day there for Jensen. They interviewed him afterwards, and he said the car was basically undrivable. And when you looked at the onboards, he wasn't fighting the car at all, so I'm not sure what was undrivable about it. But anyways, he was not pleased. The top 10, Michael Schumacher made it into the top 10 after qualifying 15th at the last race. He had nowhere really to go but up. So Schumacher was 10th. Pedro de la Rosa from Sauber was 9th. Awesome job for Sauber there. Barrichello was 8th. Massa was 7th. Kubica was 6th. He had some problems in Q2 too. Q2 as well. But managed to get 6th. Nico Rosberg was 5th. Hamilton salvaged 4th. So he didn't have the same set of problems that Jensen had. Fernando Alonso was 3rd. And they had kind of been saying they weren't going to be that fast this weekend, Ferrari. So they're 3rd and 7th. So pretty good job. And then, of course, Mark and Sebastian were 1st and 2nd. And I'm trying to think what else. Kubica has been signed to a new 2-year deal with Renault, which, congrats to him. I think he's really there to grow with the team, and they've been making some great strides, despite Petrov being down in 15th this weekend. And I think Petrov may be on his way out. I think he was kind of on the bubble going into the weekend, and qualifying 15th doesn't really help keep that bubble from bursting. Um, but yeah, the only other thing, Liuzzi from Force India would have qualified, I think 15th, right behind Jensen. 131.7. Yeah. Uh, Liuzzi would have been 15th. He starts 20th on the grid after a pretty horrible block on Nico Hulkenberg. Um, he's lucky that Hulkenberg didn't literally take him out because it was pretty rough, but he'll drop 5 spots on the grid. And Sakan Yamamoto is driving for Hispania Racing. There was something happened. I'm not sure even the news media knows because BBC said that there was a problem with Bruno Senna and that he was out of the car, but then it was resolved and he'll be back in the car after Silverstone. And then Hispania said that they wanted to give Yamamoto a chance to drive on his birthday weekend. So I'm not really sure if there was a little lovers' quarrel there between Bruno Senna. It'll be interesting to see if these new teams make it to the end of the year, which sounds pretty bad. But if they make it to the end of the year, and then if they've got financing to run again next year. So far, none of them have really gotten right up the back to challenge, a Toro Rosso or Sauber or Force India. They just don't have the grip is the big problem. So it'll be interesting to see if the new teams survive and what happens next year. But that's really it. There were some layout changes to Silverstone, namely kind of reworking of the Abbey Corner and the addition of. I'm trying to look at the map and see what was changed. The arena section really, but the turn into Abbey is pretty interesting because if you try and clip the apex too close, there's a pretty big bump there, and a bunch of people were going wide through the Abbey turn because of that bumps. So it'll be interesting to see, but great track, Cops, Maggots, Beckett's, Club, Luffield, Woodcott. There are so many weird names they give for the, Turkey, it's turns 1, 2, 3, and every corner has a name at Silverstone. So, anyways, alright, races tomorrow. I'll see you guys later.